There was a man named Adam Hale, and for most of his life, he lived as if the world were a room full of noise he could not escape. Adam woke up every morning at exactly 5:40 a.m., not because he enjoyed mornings, but because silence lived there. Thin, fragile silence, before traffic learned to shout and phones began to demand attention. He would sit on the edge of his bed, feet on the cold floor, and listen. Not for anything, just to the quiet. Adam lived alone in a small apartment on the fourth floor of a building that had forgotten how to be new. The walls carried old sounds, laughter that no longer lived there, arguments that had moved away, footsteps of people whose names no one remembered. Adam never complained. Noise was familiar. Silence was rare. He worked as a night security guard at a closed library. People often asked him if the job was lonely. Adam never knew how to answer that. Loneliness suggested the absence of something once present. In Adam's life, quiet had always been a visitor, never a resident. Each night, he walked the same path through the dark aisles of books, his flashlight brushing over titles like passing thoughts. Philosophy, history, fiction, words written by people who needed to say something badly enough to leave it behind forever. Adam rarely read them. He believed books were conversations, and he had grown tired of talking. What Adam carried instead was a habit. Every night at exactly 2:15 a.m., he stopped between two tall shelves, history on one side, poetry on the other, and turned off his flashlight. Then he waited. At first, it had been an accident, a dead battery. Darkness had fallen suddenly, and Adam had stood frozen, heart loud in his chest. But after a few seconds, something unexpected happened. The silence deepened. It was not empty, it was present. No hum of electricity, no distant sirens, no whisper of the city breathing outside, just Adam, standing in a space where sound seemed to respect the moment. From that night on, Adam returned to that exact spot. Same time, same darkness, same pause. He never told anyone. Silence, he felt, should not be shared carelessly. Adam had not always been this way. Once, years ago, he had been someone who explained himself too much. He had filled rooms with opinions, filled arguments with explanations, filled relationships with words meant to fix what listening might have healed. There had been a woman. There is always a woman in stories like this, but Adam did not like thinking of her as a story. Her name was Clara. Clara had loved music. Adam had loved control. She played songs loudly, windows open, letting the world hear her joy. Adam closed them, gently at first, then firmly. He said things like, "too much," and "not necessary," and "can we just have some quiet?" What Adam had not understood then was that silence, when demanded, becomes another kind of noise. The night Clara left, she did not argue. She turned off the music herself. That silence had been worse than shouting. Adam never tried to replace her. Instead, he learned to listen to what remained. Years passed like pages turned too quickly. The library aged. The books leaned. Adam's footsteps became familiar to the floors. And still, every night at 2:15 a.m., he stood in the dark and spoke, to silence. Not out loud, inside. At first, the words were clumsy, apologies with no listener, explanations that arrived too late, regrets shaped like questions. Over time, the words changed. They became shorter, honest. Sometimes Adam said nothing at all, and those nights felt the fullest. Then, one winter night, something changed. Adam turned off his flashlight as usual. Darkness folded around him. He waited for the deep quiet to settle. It didn't. There was a sound, a faint one, a breath perhaps, or the idea of one. Adam's heart tightened. He did not move. Fear, old and sharp, tested his ribs. Then the sound stopped. The silence that followed was heavier than any he had known. Not broken, answered. Adam understood, without logic or proof, that silence had been listening all along. He did not return to that spot the next night, or the night after. Instead, Adam began to read. He read slowly, deliberately, as if each sentence were a person waiting to be heard. He learned how others failed, how they loved, how they learned too late and sometimes just in time. On his last night at the library, retirement came quietly, like most important things. Adam stood once more between history and poetry. He turned off his flashlight. The silence came. He did not speak. Neither did it. And for the first time in Adam's life, Adam understood the difference between being quiet and being at peace. When he left the building at dawn, the city was already awake. Cars moved, voices rose. The world did what it always did. Adam smiled. Noise no longer frightened him. He had learned how to listen.